you very much. Thank you very much. Good evening. It is a pleasure to be here tonight and to show you how to cook Mexican healthy. I am really excited about this class because this is my favorite ethnic cuisine, so to speak, that's not just Southern soul food. So I'm really looking forward to this. We're going to have a good time and we're going to get started. We're going to start with your recipe that's called citrus salsa. It's a little bit different than the red tomato salsa that you're used to having when you go to a Mexican restaurant. It's something a little light, a little fun. We're going to use it a couple of times during the night. That's when we're going to start off with it first. So if you want to pull that, jot some notes as we go, that would be great. Now, I want to show you something really quickly. If you're wondering why I'm putting a cloth underneath my cutting board, this is just a little free tip. I'm going to throw these in from time to time because you can never stop learning. If you stop learning, oh, that's not a good thing. At home, when you're using your cutting board, I don't know if you've ever tried to cut a watermelon on a cutting board and your cutting board goes this way and the watermelon goes this way and you've got a really big mess on your feet underneath the counter. Well, if you'll put a damp cloth or a silicone mat underneath your cutting board, it's not going to go anywhere. It's going to stay in place as you're cutting and you're doing. Okay, so here we go. What we're going to do first is we're going to take these 3 oranges and these 2 limes and we're going to cut them, and you may not be able to see from my bowl. We're going to cut them. We just want the segments out of the orange. We don't want any peel. We don't want the white pith. It's really bitter. So how do you cut an orange to get that out? Well, I'm going to show you. We're going to cut the ends off, each end, just like this. And then we're going to take our knife. I'm using a serrated knife. I like that better. I find it works a little bit better on citrus fruit when you're cutting the peel off. You're going to put your knife in that orange and you're just simply going to follow the side of the orange all the way down and just kind of watch it as you go, making sure you get all that white off. So we're going to get these 3 knocked out really quickly, just like that. And you see you've got a nice pretty orange. You can see the lines in it where the segments are. We're going to come back to that in just a minute. Move this to the side. Let's do it one more time. Now, I don't know how you cut fruit at home, but it's really fun. I'm one of those crazy people that just likes the way things look. So look, see how pretty that is? You see the segments, everything's great, but when you flip it around, that's where it was attached to the tree, and it always makes a fun design. And I just love to look at God's creation that way. So here we go. And there's some dead air here, so while I'm cutting these, let me give you another one of those little helpful tips I was telling you about. You've got all this orange rind and it smells really good and it looks really good, and you're thinking, well, I hate to just throw it away. Don't. Orange rind has a lot of great uses. The first one is if you've got a garbage disposal at home in your kitchen sink, don't put the orange rind or the lime or lemon rinds down in the garbage can. Whoops. I'll move these right over here. Put them in your garbage disposal. That does 2 things. The acid breaks down any food particles that might be left in there on the blades. The rind itself is full of a lot of oil that will lubricate those metal parts. But the best part about it is, the next time you turn the hot water on, you're going to smell oranges a few times. Oh, who doesn't like the smell of oranges? And then same thing with limes and same things with lemons. Okay, so you're thinking, okay, I'm going to make this citrus salsa for about 10 people. You know what? There's going to be more people coming to the ball game than that, so maybe I need to make it for 20. Amy, I have a lot of limes and a lot of lemons. No big deal. We'll come back to that at a later time. Anyway, I've got a lot of limes and I've got a lot of lemons. That's funny. It went all the way across the room for those that didn't see where it went. What am I going to do with them? Well, how many of you buy Yankee candles and expensive potpourri and stuff like that? It's really simple. Toss your lime and your lemon peel in a pot. Fill the pot with water. If you like spice, add a little bit of cinnamon stick, maybe a little bit of the star anise. You've got some of that in your spice cabinet and you're thinking, what in the world am I going to do with this? It came in a, a spice packet. Homemade potpourri, and you can add water to it for 3 or 4 days and still get the same scent. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is take my knife, and if you can see the little lines that are in the sections of citrus, I'm just going to follow those lines like this right here. Now, a lime is really small unless you by chance get lucky and find a really big one. And so we're not going to cut this lime in half as we're segmenting it, because it just they're so small, they just kind of fall apart on their own. And as I'm cutting it, if you'll notice, I'm folding that piece of white back with my thumb, holding it back. And then you just sometimes you got to pull it and help it just a little bit out. Here we go. All right, one more side, one more piece, 2 more pieces of lime. This was a little bitty lime that didn't offer very much. That's all right, because the ones we have in the back for you to sample at the end offer a lot. Okay, so you see I've got this nice big segment of orange, and that's a little bit bigger than a bite, so I'm going to break that one in half. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually cut the oranges in half like this, and that way the segments come out in bite-sized pieces. Makes it just a little bit easier. And the membranes of this particular orange, sometimes you get really lucky. And the membranes will be really thin and really easy that you can cut them, and it's okay to have just a little bit in there. There we go. And we'll get this one cut really quickly. In your chair with your recipe cards, you have a piece of paper that's called the Scoville heat units. And what that is, how many of you have gone and bought a jar of Tabasco, or you've bought peppers and you've seen, sometimes Walmart, if you buy groceries there, will have a tag, maybe Publix will, that just simply says SHU, and it'll have a number in the multiple thousands. Well, that's what that piece of paper is in front of you. That's the Scoville, what they call the Scoville heat units. And what that measurement is it's a way to measure how much heat is in that particular product. Well, the heat in a pepper comes from an enzyme in the pepper. Maybe I'm not saying that right. Comes from, let's just say, an oil or a part of the pepper that is called capsaicin. And I know that your television, just like mine, has been flooded with all kinds of commercials lately about taking capsaicin and things like that. Well, it is a very healthy product for you. It is a natural pain reliever. The problem with this particular natural pain reliever is it is hot as all get out to taste. So if you'll notice on there, it starts with a number 0, and that's a bell pepper, and there's no heat in a bell pepper whatsoever. And it goes all the way up to 15 to 16 million, and that's a pure capsaicin. Well, if you can eat that, you're a better person than I am, because my stomach would tell me almost immediately, yeah, we're not going there again, sister. How do you neutralize it though? Well, there you hear drink milk, you hear eat sour cream, and all those dairy products and all that's great. But what this chart tells you is if you eat, let's say, a Tabasco pepper, it's between 2,500 and 5,000 SHUs. How can you neutralize that immediately? Well, that's how many cups of sugar water you've got to drink while you're eating that pepper to neutralize the burn. That's a lot. So that kind of doesn't pertain to the healthy lifestyle class. But I'm telling you that just so you know, when you see an SHU on a menu or in the grocery store or something like that, you can say, hey, somebody told me the name of that and how that helped out, how to get rid of it. Well, eat sour cream, because that's a surefire way. If you want to drink 25,000 cups of sugar water, that's perfectly fine with me, but I don't think Debbie will be as happy with you. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we need a teaspoon of chopped fresh cilantro. And cilantro is this really fun, really flavorful herb that I absolutely adore. However, be careful, there are people in this world that are allergic to it, so that's always a good question. It's like peanuts are now. That's always a good question. I turned it over a little bit because there was so much juice. I'm going to let it kind of drain on my towel. It's like peanuts. You don't know you're allergic to it until you eat it, so always make sure you ask, when you ask, okay, do you have any food allergies? If you're serving Mexican, ask, do you have a cilantro allergy? Because trust me, the people that have one know they have one, and the people around them know they have that allergy. So, okay, but we've got this bright, fresh herb that smells really good. How many of you have coriander in your cabinet at home? If you have coriander, you have cilantro. They're the same thing. Cilantro you just see more in the fresh, whereas coriander is more dried. But the flavor profile is exactly the same because they're exactly the same herb. Okay, so we're going to give this a little bit of a chop right quick. I'm going to pull a little bit more off because we only need, let's see, a teaspoon. So you just kind of hold it all together and you just give it a rough chop like this. And you take your knife and just pull it all back in. And we're going to give it enough rough chop. And some people use leaves only, some people use leaves and stems. I'm one of the leaves and stems person. And you just kind of keep going over it just a little bit. There we go. And we only need a teaspoon. Okay, next quick tip. I have cooked for so long that I know how much my hands will hold as far as ingredients go. And I know that this little bowl that God gave me in the palm of my hand right here, that when I fill it up, like that right there, I'm going to get a teaspoon every single time. And most people that have cooked for a long time have measured and know that. But I have a teaspoon. And now remember, fresh doesn't pack like it's a teaspoon. So measure your hands. Make them your friend. Your hand's the best spoon you've got in the kitchen. Now, another quick tip I want to tell you about fresh herbs, using fresh herbs, is if you've ever bought them and they went bad in the refrigerator really quickly and you're like, I just bought that. Well, if you will take those fresh herbs as soon as you get home, we live in the South. Who does not have a mason jar with a lid in their cabinet? Now, it may be underneath the sink, on the back far left corner, behind the dish soap. Pull that mason jar out, put an inch of water in the bottom of it, cut the ends off of your fresh herbs, stick them down in the jar, put the lid on, stick it in the refrigerator, and a month later, they're still fresh. So, that said, just a quick tip in case you're interested. All right, so we've added the cilantro. Now, why did I tell you about peppers? because we're fixing to use a serrano pepper. A serrano pepper is, to me, looks like a little bitty jalapeno. You want one that's a nice bright green color, firm to touch. It's not wrinkled, it's not, you know, squishy and saggy and all that kind of stuff. You want a nice firm one. We're going to cut the end of it off, just like this. And then I'm going to take it and I'm going to slice it in half long ways, like this. And the reason I did that is the seed is where the heat comes from in the pepper. So we sure don't want seeds in our salsa. I'm going to use my thumb. Again, your hands are your best tools. Put it in the end of your pepper and just follow that membrane and those seeds all the way out. And you might have to make a couple of passes to get all of it. That's okay. We're going to get this out. Now, we're going to give this a good chop. Cut it in long strips. Come back and let's cut this one in long strips. Ooh, can you smell it? Give it a minute, it'll get to you. That's what I love about cooking is I just love the way things smell, especially when they're cooking. Okay, we're going to give this a really rough chop here. Pull them all back in so everything's just about the same size. And we need a teaspoon of this. So again, I'm going to measure it in my hand. That's a good teaspoon, so I probably could have gone with about half of that pepper. Okay, now to this, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of brain freeze. Not brain freeze, really. That's just what my brain did. 2 teaspoons of rice wine vinegar. So we've got 1, and just drizzle it over, and 2, and that's all we need of that one. And then we're going to add 2 teaspoons of extra virgin olive oil. Now, I like to make things interesting and confuse people. Not really, but I did, and I do a very good job of it. Instead of bringing the olive oil little bottle out here, we buy it in the big gallon sizes, and I didn't want to bring the whole gallon out here, so I grabbed the juice decanter that we keep in the kitchen for small groups, and I put my olive oil in there. So no, I'm not putting orange juice, even though it's already in your salsa. It's really olive oil. Okay, to this we're going to add 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. Always measure your salt over your garbage can. That way, when you get too much, like I just did, you can just kind of go with it, and you're not ruining the whole dish. How many of you have done that? I have multiple times, more times than I care to remember. Okay, a little bit of fresh pepper. Again, your hands, your best friend. Use it for your spoon. We're going to just kind of give that a good toss like this. And I've got this pretty little dish I thought we would use. And we're just going to put this in here. And let's just pile it really full because it's just so yummy. And put it, you know, and this would actually, this citrus salsa, because it's bite size and it's not juiced down so bad, you could do small portions of this. Serve it with chips is how we're going to give it to you guys tonight. If I remembered to tell them we were going to use chips, that is. But if you do it like this, do it in just a small bowl, a small dish with, for a salad. You can use this as a side salad cut if you do it big pieces like I've done tonight. Okay, let's make this a little frou-frou just because I like frou-frou. It's fun. So let's take a couple of these little cilantro pieces. Here we go. We'll just kind of garnish it on top with something bright and fresh like that. And you're good to go as they fall over, but that's okay. This is our first dish, citrus salsa. Okay? All right. Whoop. Now then, The next thing we want to do is clean this up. I'm going to clear this off just a little bit. This is Jenny hair over here on the side. You'll see her hands reach in from time to time. Jenny's our kitchen manager here at Dawson, and she is my right hand and my left both, and just a very dear friend. We've worked together for a long time, and I think she knows my brain some days better than I do. No comments from the peanut gallery, because she's agreeing with me. Let's see what else we got, love. That's good. That's all for now. Okay, so the next thing we're going to make is going to be really fun. And instead of change things up just a little bit as we go, I'm going to put this burner out here. There we go. All right, we're going to make sweet potato and spinach quesadillas. Now, I am going to be absolutely brutally honest with you. When Debbie brought me this recipe, I thought she'd lost her mind. Because the two together just didn't work. And I've been cooking a whole lot of years, like a lot of years. And we made it this afternoon, and I got up enough courage to try it this afternoon for the first time. And it works. So don't knock the old saying, don't knock it till you try it. Yeah, don't knock it till you try it, because it's really good. Okay, in our sauce pot, a neat thing about this is this recipe, and you're about to get some really good scent. This recipe calls for pickled onions. Southern Living, or somebody, I'm going to add just a little bit more to this, has just done a article about, and maybe it was Country Living, about how in the South we pickle everything. Well, we do, and today we're going to pickle purple onions. If you can pickle eggs, I've decided, or pig's feet, you can pickle just about anything, neither of which I ever intend to try. But just saying. Okay, so in our sauce pot to pickle these onions, we have got a cup of red wine vinegar and a half a cup of sugar. And we're going to give this a good stir. And let's go ahead and get it turned on and get it started. We want to bring it to a boil. And to this, I'm going to add 4 peppercorns. And you're going, really, Amy? 4 peppercorns makes a difference? Yes, it does when you boil it to pull the oil out of them. Okay, so we're going to get this going really good. And while we're waiting on that, I'm going to slice a purple onion. Now, how do I slice a purple onion? The same way you do, I'm sure, but I want to show you a little trick. If you will, when you're cutting the root end and the top end off the onion, I'm going to turn it sideways so maybe everybody can see. If you'll come, when you come down and make that first slice, stop before you go through that last or the last 2 layers of onion. Can you see how I've done this? And you're asking, why did you do that? Because when I put my thumb on that membrane and I pull it, it starts that onion skin. And if you've ever tried to get onion skin off, you know how difficult it can be. So we're going to do this again. And I'm going to go down, and I'm not going to go all the way through, and I'm going to pull again. Oh, and I got a good piece that time. Can you see how far down it went into the onion? Now watch what I do. I just pop my thumb under there, and the whole thing on that side comes off, and I turn it around to the other, and again, you get the whole thing off. And how quick and simple and easy was that to get that awful onion skin off? Okay, so we're going, this says sliced. I tried rings, and I think to slice it this way is going to be a little bit easier for you guys. So we're just going to make some good cuts. Want that just a little thinner. And then when you get down to, you've got just a little piece left, You know what? Turn it on its side and go again. There we go. And here, get this one sliced real quick. Can you smell the vinegar yet? I hope so, because it's really starting to get me up here. Woohoo! Sometimes you come in and if you ever smell vinegar in the church, you know we're making broccoli salad because we heat it to make the sauce. Okay, we're going to put all of this in this bowl. You know what? I'm changing just real quick. Y'all pardon me. We're going to use this metal bowl instead. There is a cut mark in the bottom of that one, and I am not convinced this hot liquid's not going to go through it. All right, so we've got a good bowl. Let's turn the heat off. Here we go. And here, let's get all of that onion. All right, and we're just simply going to pour this vinegar over these onions. Woo-hoo-hoo! I hope you can smell that. And then take your whisk or the spoon you stirred with. Just make sure your onions are down in that vinegar really good. We're going to set this to the side. Now we're going to build our quesadillas. We're going to need that. All right. So we're starting with 2 sweet potatoes. Your recipe tells you to microwave them for 15 minutes. You can do that. That works just fine. Another thing that you can do is, we love sweet potatoes around here. When you're baking sweet potatoes for supper, or if you're frying sweet potatoes or whatever you're doing with your sweet potatoes, if you know you think, oh, you know what, these quesadillas might be good the next night, then take them, throw a couple in the oven when you've got something else in there, pop them in the refrigerator overnight, and the next night these quesadillas are going to be extremely easy to make because your sweet potatoes are going to already be finished. That's what we've done here. All right. Now, that's not to say you can't microwave them. You certainly can. I'm just trying to give you a couple of extra little fun things. Okay, and change my gloves really quickly. You notice I use my hands instead of spoons and things a lot, so I change gloves here a lot. All right, we're going to do, again, just a little sprinkle of salt. Let's see here. And your recipe actually calls for 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt, so we're going to put just, and I know I just did what I told you not to do, and that's measure it over the bowl. And we're going to come back with a little bit of pepper. And we're going to take a fork and just mash it all together really good. And you just want to get that salt and pepper incorporated good through your, all through your potato. Okay. There we go. That looks good. All right. So, whoops, a little bit decided it wanted to hold on. Let's get this turned on. And I'm going to add again just a little bit of olive oil to these quesadillas. Now, quesadillas have gotten really popular probably in the last 15 or 20 years. But they've been around for the last, oh, I don't know, 300 or 400 or 500 years. And it's basically the same thing in every culture, but it originated as a corn tortilla that was flattened and filled with cheese and served with vegetables. And if they had meat, that was great. They might put meat in it. They might eat the meat on the side. But that's basically how they came about. Tonight we're using flour tortillas, which is what your recipe calls for. You can just want to make sure I don't drop them like I did the lime a few minutes ago. You can use a corn if you have a food allergy. There again, food allergy comes into play. If you've got someone that's gluten intolerant and can't have wheat, but they can have the corn tortillas. So, all right, we're going to put this in here. You hear it already start to sizzle. And I'm going to add a good dollop of sweet potatoes, and we're just going to kind of stir it, push it out to the edges just a little bit. We're going to put one more little dollop. There we go. Now, to this, I'm going to add a cup of fresh spinach leaves. Again, my hand holds a cup. I've measured it and tried and true and time, and that looks like a lot, but remember how much spinach wilts, okay? Now it's getting really good and done. So, and then to that spinach, we're going to put about 1/4 of a cup of mozzarella cheese, and we're going to add another tortilla to the top. Now, if I was real fancy, there we, oh, that's a good golden color. You may not like it quite that dark, but I sure do. I would, do the skillet thing, but the last time I did the skillet thing, I had to clean scrambled eggs off the vent hood in the kitchen, so I am not going to do that again. We're just going to let this sit for another 2 or 3 minutes. Won't take it but a second, and while I'm waiting on it, I'll put all this stuff to the side. We'll get the cutting board cleaned off. Oh, that smells really good. Can you get that? Or let me see if I can help it get out there just a little bit. Kind of make it smell yummy. All right. So our spinach is good and melty. We're going to put this here. That turned off. Jenny, let me give you that by the handle because that's really hot. We're finished with that one. Okay, so let's do this. We're going to cut it this way. Turn it and let's cut it this way. We're going to plate it. That's real melty. Your spinach is wilty, but it's still got that real crisp, tender kind of flavor to it. Lay this here. Put that right there. And then these are going to wilt down just a little bit more. You know what? We're going to let them, and we're going to come back to those onions so we can make that plate really pretty. Just let that sit for a few more minutes. You want to let those pickled onions sit for about 10 minutes. They're going to wilt down and let go. They're going to be a real bright pink instead of a real dark purple. And the flavor is just unimaginable. You'll love it. At least I hope you do. I hope you do. All right. So Debbie told me I had to stay still in the middle. I don't stay still very well, obviously. Just to tell you quickly, my mother's sitting in the back of the room, and she will agree with me that I don't do still very well. So the next recipe that we're going to do is the Baja fish tacos. This is the one that I'm probably the most very excited about because it's going to be loads and loads of fun for you guys. If you like fish, you're going to love it. If you don't like fish, you're going to like it. I promise. It's really, who doesn't like fajitas? So you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting the fajita flavor, you're in a taco, and that fish, we're using a fresh mahi-mahi tonight, and it is just, oh, it's not fishy. Oh, I'm so excited. You guys are gonna so love this. So, for the Baja fish tacos, what we're going to do first is we're going to get a little bit of oil in our skillet. Now, in your recipe tonight, it calls for you to grill it. Through the magic of not having a grill here at the church, we're going to saute in a little bit of olive oil again. And I'm going to get this started for us. And this is one, now I will admit to you, I will have to refer back to the recipe a little bit more often than I do the other one. All right, so we've got this nice, beautiful, gorgeous piece of fresh mahi-mahi. I'm so excited. So excited. And to this, we're going to add some fajita seasoning. We're going to season it good on both sides. This is about a 10-ounce piece of fish, and it's really going to go a long way. We're going to get about 4 tacos out of this particular piece of fish. And this fajita seasoning, we want 2 tablespoons of it. And that's, you know, kind of a lot for what you think is a small piece of fish. Another quick tip, there's 3, I told you tablespoons, I apologize, it's 2 teaspoons. And there are 3 teaspoons in 1 tablespoon. So I'm using the tablespoon measuring spoon, but I'm not using the whole thing. We're just going to kind of sprinkle this side really good and take it and rub it in. And you want one side to sprinkle with, one side to rub with. There we go. And let's flip it over. If you don't use fresh fish very often, don't be scared of it. It's really simple. Now, as with all fresh fish, you can buy fillets and it's deboned, but that doesn't mean they always got all the bones. And I just spelt one, and it ran away again. So when we flake it, we'll make sure we check it good. All right, so let's turn this around real good. And fish is going to be 3 to 4 minutes on each side. Let's get this started. Oh, hear that beautiful sizzle. Ha ha ha, life is good when you got fish frying in the summertime. All right, now I held a raw protein. Meats are proteins. So if you use gloves at home, like I do from time to time, always change your gloves. I handled the fish on a piece of plastic on top of my cutting board, but for cross-contamination purposes, we're going to flip this cutting board over. Anytime you handle raw meat, always wash your hands, wash your cutting board, wash your utensils, start basically over from scratch, because you can cook out the bad stuff. But if you're cooking out the bad stuff, but you didn't clean what you're cutting the good stuff with, you're going to cross-contaminate yourself, and foodborne illness is not a fun thing. Not at all. Okay. Oh, hope that smells good to you guys. All right, in a small bowl over here, we're going to add to this fresh cilantro that, like a goofball, I sent, nope, there it is. Found it, yay. Didn't send it to the kitchen. I'm going to add 3 tablespoons. There's 1, 2. So let's get one more really quickly. And again, I say, if there are any of you that have food allergies, when they start to pass out the sample dishes in a little bit, make sure you let them know that. And we'll see what we can do to help you guys. All right, let's give this a quick chop. Small bowl. Cilantro. Whoop. Got a couple of long stems. One more time real quick. Here we go. Okay. How many of you have ever been to a restaurant and on the menu you saw This is a little bit bigger. I think I'm going to swap this over. Yeah, let's do. You saw a fish called a dorado. Well, that's actually mahi-mahi. That's just another name. It depends on where the fish was caught and what culture it's sent it in, whether they called it mahi-mahi, or you may have heard it called dolphin fish. That's a big game fish, you know, big head, skinny at the tail, flat nose. Anyway, just a little bit of trivia for you guys. Now, we're putting 2 cups, there we go, of cabbage in our bowl with the fresh cilantro. We are going to sprinkle a little bit of salt over it. Oh, good sprinkle. And our fish should be close to ready to turn. Oh yeah, you want to, when you turn it, you want to look and see how it's progressing. The white, you know, when you cook fish, when you put it down, it's that pretty pink color, but as it cooks, it turns white. And if you see the white rising up about to the center, you're good to go to flip. This is a little bit thicker steak, so it may have to cook just a little bit longer than we had intended, but that's okay too. Okay, to this we want to add some fresh lime juice. Now, the cool thing about limes is they don't always have seeds in them, but sometimes they do. So if you drop a seed, just fish it out. It's okay. Or you can do it over a bowl. And we're just going to put it directly in. And we're going to juice this lime right into this bowl. Put a fork in, the white, right next to the white pith, and twist. Hey, Jenny, can I have another lime? There's no juice in that one. None. Like, look at this. This is crazy. Nothing. That's hysterical. Only to me. All right. Oh, this one's good. Here we go. Well, maybe you should bring 3 or 4. That's funny. All right, so we're just kind of turning it and twisting it as we go and getting all that good lime juice out of there. And it says a tablespoon, and typically you can get about a tablespoon out of a fresh lime, but for whatever reason, these are just not giving up the ghost. Not at all, not at all. Thank you. So let's try this. Sometimes if they don't, you can kind of mash them a little bit. Another trick is stick them in the microwave for 10 seconds. Any kind of citrus fruit. If you're just trying to get the juice, that'll work. There we go. Let's see what we can get this to do. Oh, we're getting a little bit out of this. Here we go. All right. Now, you're thinking to yourself, okay, she has the patience of Job because she's juicing fresh limes. Well, there are a lot of people in this world, including me, that would beg to differ with you. I do not have that much patience. After the first one, I would have thrown my hands up and gone and got the bottle of lime juice out of the refrigerator. And that's okay too. Perfectly okay. Oh yeah, here we go. Gosh, this is all smelling so good. I'm just hoping you guys can smell this. It just makes for a good day. A really good day. We have a sweet man in our church that says it's a good day, and he is right. Anytime it smells this good, it is a good, good day. Okay, so I'm going to take my hands, just turn this over, and what you're wanting is the acid in the limes to break down the cabbage, and the cabbage will start absorbing the flavor from the cilantro and absorbing the flavor from the limes. and then the cabbage will start releasing its own good juice, and everything will start, oh my goodness, and it'll just be a fabulous day. Okay, so we've got that done. And let's go back to our fish, and let's check it and see how it's doing. I'm still seeing a little bit of pink on this end down here. Yeah, it needs a couple more minutes. So while that's cooking, we'll go ahead and cut our avocado. How do you pick an avocado? Oh my goodness. Well, you don't want to mash it, and you want to feel it be soft. You don't want to mash it hard though, because it'll bruise. It's like bananas, it'll bruise. But you want it to give just a little bit, be a little bit soft. You don't want it to be hard as a brick that you could throw through a car window, okay? You want it to have good uniform color. This one's more of a black color. You can, bright green is okay. You just want to make sure it's good and right. And then to cut it, you just go down, and there's a big ball in the middle of it that's the seed. And you just take your knife and you kind of just feel it around, and you get a cut all the way around. And then to open it, you just give it a good twist. And of course this one's really ripe, so it opened really easy. And you've got one half that's like this, and one half that's still got the seed in it. Well, what I want to do is, so it still got fire? It does. Okay, I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to score it, because we want avocado chunks in our taco, and just kind of make them about the bite size that you want. And you see this one's good and ripe, it's soft. You want the inside of it not to be hard, you want it to be soft like butter, okay? And so then what I'm going to do is take this spoon. Let's just do it on the corner of the cutting board. I'm going to take this spoon, and I'm going to start up here at the small end, and I'm simply going to follow the peel all the way around, making sure my spoon stays next to the skin, and it's all going to fall out like this. And see, I've got a good dice in it. So now it's like, okay, Amy, I'm going to mess the avocado up. You can do one of two things. You can put your thumb in it, and you can flip the seed all the way across the room, especially if somebody's coming down the hall that you're really mad at. Kind of funny. It's a joke. I have 2 boys in their 20s. Yeah. Or you can take your knife. You can hold it carefully, and that seed's going to be just soft enough that your knife is going to kind of go down in it just a little bit, and then you just twist, and it'll come out on your knife. Now, something really funny is the last 3 avocados I've done, the knife trick didn't work for me either, and I had to get a spoon and dig it out and send it flying across the room. So, I'm just really proud it worked that time. Again, I'm scoring it, if you guys didn't see me to begin with, and then I'm turning it sideways, and I'm scoring it again. We're going to score it a little bit smaller this time. Can everybody see okay? Miss Alice, can you see over there? All right, here we go. And we're going to take our spoon, and we're going to just sort of, again, we're going to follow that skin all the way around. If you don't like a lot of avocado, but you like a little bit of flavor, you can cut it a little bit smaller from here. Again, like I said, I really like it. Okay, and then you just sort of break it up with your fingers. Now, the avocados are like bananas. They brown once they've been peeled. They just do it a whole lot faster than bananas do. So what we're going to do is, we're going to pray we've got a little bit of juice in this particular, can you go check on that, please? In this particular lime, and we're going to just squeeze the lime. The citric acid, as you know, same with apples and bananas, citric acid will keep it from turning brown. And we're just kind of squeezing it over. There we go. Good. We're going to give it just a little bit of a toss with our fingers, like this, and just sort of let it sit. Now it won't brown on us. Okay, so what are we going to do next? Well, let's get our fish. It's ready. And we're going to clean this off just a little bit. Let's just kind of give this a little bit of a wipe. And put our fish here on our cutting board. It's cooked, so we don't have all the yuck to deal with. And again, we're going to take our fork and see, you know it's done when it just kind of flakes. And so we're just flaking our fish a little bit, just like this. Okay, yum. And then if you've got like 4 portions, flake all of it, go ahead and divide it into 4 to get 4 tacos out of it. In this case, you would divide it into 4, and then you divide it into 2 again, because this recipe makes 8 tacos. And we're going to start building. Your recipe calls for corn tacos. In this particular one, we're going to use flour, because I will tell on myself, I did not take the corn out of the freezer, and I didn't realize it until 4 o'clock, and I didn't want you guys to eat corn tortillas that were just kind of gross. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to build this taco. If you'll take your tortillas and you'll put them on a dinner plate, cover them with a damp paper towel and put them in the microwave, roughly a minute, sometimes not quite that much. What it will do is just soften them up, make them a little bit more pliable, especially the corn. So we've got all of our taco ingredients ready for assembly. The only thing I'm missing is a little bit of sour cream, a little bit of salsa, and sour cream you can use the tubs, or through the magic of, you know, food service kitchens, the single serving. All right, so here we go. We're ready. We're going to put the sour cream on the bottom. Let's just put a little bitty line like that. All right, and then we're going to top it with just a few of these fish crumbles. If you remember, when you build tacos at home, they get really big really fast. Now the question is, can you do this on crunchy tacos? If you prefer crunchy tacos, absolutely you can. So we've put a little bit of that on there. I'm going to come back with my avocado next. There we go. And then a little bit of your cabbage mixture, just like this. And let's put 2 more pieces of avocado on top just to make it pretty as I throw it. There we go, like that. And you can do one of 2 things. We're going to put it on our plate here. You can use a little bit of red salsa here if you like tomato salsa, but tonight we did the fruit salsa that I already sent to the kitchen. So let's just kind of snitch a couple of pieces of this, put it here on the side like that. Put that back up there just to sort of make it pretty. We'll fix it back in just a second. Okay, and let's just kind of, you know, top the plate off. Why not, right? We're going to go here and here. And we're going to add a couple of lime wedges that you can squeeze over, because who doesn't like to squeeze lemon or lime or orange on their fish after it's been cooked in the restaurant. So that is our fish taco. And if you remember, we've got one more thing to do to our quesadillas. We're going to put our pickled red onion on our quesadillas Let's get some of this juice off. You want to drain them good. You want to put them in a bowl so that they'll be really cool. It's okay to put them in the fridge. There we go. Let's just put our hand in it a little bit to kind of break it up a little bit more. You see they turn this bright, beautiful pink color. And you want to put just a little bit of flavor on top of each quesadilla triangle like that. And if you really like the pickled onions, you can put a pretty pile in the middle to eat, so you have a little bit of onion in every single bite. There we go. That's got that. Now, one thing I do want to tell you really quickly is about the avocados. The really cool thing about them is they're native to Mexico and Central America, and they've kind of been branched out all over everywhere. They're extremely healthy for you. They've got so many good qualities about them. But just an interesting little tidbit I wanted to make sure you knew is the trees that they grow on are part of the same family that cinnamon and camphor and bay leaves are in. And you're thinking, okay, that's kind of weird. Weird. Well, if you think about the barkiness on the outside of the avocado, it all kind of falls in the same family, and that's just how they decided to classify that. And I didn't know that, and I just thought that was really cool and something that I would share with you guys. There is another cool tidbit about avocados that we'll share at another time. Got to save something for the next time to get you guys to come back, right? Kind of got a little bit messy up here. Does that sometimes when you're doing this much this fast. But I hope you guys have thoroughly enjoyed this tonight, and I just hope that you come back for the Chinese cooking class next month. Thank you.